Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel. Chelsea beat Man United last night 1-0. I watched the 6 things we learnt video again today, and I don't think I was as happy, enthusiastic, positive as I maybe should have been. It's a massive win for Chelsea. We are into the top 4, going into the final day of the season. Champions League this year was what I wanted. I don't want to see us playing in these ridiculous European competitions again. The Conference League, as much as it was fun at the start, by the end of this season, I'm like, please get me the Champions League anthem again. And last night, Marc Cucurella's goal, assisted by Chelsea captain Reece James, has given us massive hope going into that game at Nottingham Forest next week that we are going to achieve that goal. And then after that, if we beat Betis and get a trophy, it's going to be lovely. We can go into the Club World Cup with added optimism, and hopefully we can address in the transfer window some things that I think are just complete non-negotiables for Chelsea if we wish to challenge for important titles. And today, I want to talk about Enzo Maresca because we're one game away, and I've said it all year. Champions League football, Maresca, I want him to stay. And even though yesterday, when I look back at the 6 things video, I watched back the game again today, I'm thinking to myself, right, I'm not enjoying what I'm watching. This isn't entertaining, but at this stage of the season, it is just categorically most important that Chelsea win. Chelsea get 3 points, and we get where we want to be next year, and we can build upon it next season. So when Enzo Maresca is saying this, right, and I know that a lot of times this season, I have been very much against the ownership. I've been against Maresca at times, against the players at times too. But I want to break this down today because the more I think about getting rid of this, and again, it's a difference between accepting where we are and what we're not, and also thinking, well, if we are what we are right now, which is we ran very differently, Maresca keeps reminding us that it isn't the Chelsea of old, and it isn't. Do you know what I mean? It just isn't the Chelsea of old. We know this. But maybe stability is the right way. Hiring, firing, sacking managers, hiring new ones. Maybe this season has been basically the same as last season, but we might get Champions League. It's basically identical, to be quite honest. But I think the difference this year is that last year, we were too reliant on individual brilliance, whereas this season, the togetherness seems to be there. It seems to have stabilized itself. It might actually be, and this is going to be a take that a lot of people might disagree with, it might be the fact that we are playing such a rigid, boring style of football that is genuinely helping the average of what we can achieve game by game. And I know that is going to really tick some people off. And listen, it's difficult for me too, because I watch football and I want to be entertained. Fundamentally, at the end of a season, I just want to get to where I want us to be at, which is Champions League football. And the recent results, if I bring up our recent fixtures, right? Because if we take a look at this, let me just quickly move this over so that you guys can see it better. If we go back to January time, right, where we had the draw at home to Bournemouth, who have had a good season. We had that horrible run in December where we drew with Everton, lost to Fulham, lost to Ipswich, drew with Crystal Palace. Like, this run basically put us in the position where our season fell to pieces based on the great start that we had. But you've also, in the same breath as that, we've got to look into why that happened. We got to look into the way that we play. And yes, there is definitely things that need to change if we're going to improve long term. Since we had that awful run of losing twice to Brighton, losing against Aston Villa, we've actually managed to stabilise this season very well. The Tottenham game, the 1-0 win, that's always a great win at home. These results, Brentford and Ipswich, we had a few of those last season too under Pochettino. But then the win at Fulham, the grinding out of the wins against Everton, the great win against Liverpool, and that win against Man United yesterday. I think a football team within their evolution, whatever Chelsea were, whatever we are, you've got to understand that not every single game is going to be like Wolves away at the start of this season. You can't go out and score 5 or 6 every week. Even Liverpool can't do that. Sometimes you've got to learn how to win ugly. And I think yesterday, I was so tired when I was watching that game and then talking about it afterwards that I kind of missed that point. I missed the point of, right, the goal here isn't to be entertained right now. The goal is simply 3 points, Champions League next season. Look at the squad at the end of this season. Sell a load of players that aren't necessary. Sell a load of players that are on high wages and hopefully bring the right players in. And I think this is where it becomes difficult as Chelsea fans, because when you look at Enzo Maresca's comments, and if I put this up quite big on the screen here for you lot to see, we are building something important. People have to trust us. The club is working well, and hopefully in the future we can fight for titles. As much as I hate it, and as much as I do think we should have been in a far better position, having spent £1.6 billion, we are actually moving in a better direction than we were. And I think the idea of stability right now, even a few months ago, I was like, well, we're not going to get Champions League football, so I don't know how I can back this. Once results start to improve, you have to think about the balance of how that looks, because right now, we are on the cusp of achieving Champions League football. That is going to give us a much better season next season. I don't want to sit here watching these horrible Thursday night games anymore. But I think we're moving in a good direction. But then, in the same breath, Maresca says stuff like this sometimes too. He was confident to start Tyreek George at Forest based on tonight's performance. This is the dilemma that I have with Enzo Maresca, because as much as he's actually not doing a bad job, there are certain things that he says that I'm like, I just do not agree with this whatsoever. And I don't know what you guys think about this, but Tyreek George up against Milinkovic and Murillo in a game that Chelsea have to win, it doesn't fill me with confidence that we're going to win. And that is what I felt like last night for over an hour of the football match. I'm like, I'm not confident we're going to win this game. And I don't know if that's a George Benson problem or if it is the football that we're playing and the amount of chances that we're creating, which isn't very many. Yes, we don't have a recognised striker. Yes, that's a problem. Sometimes I just feel as though we're too heavily reliant on individual moments, but the results, if I bring these up again, suggest that collectively we're finding ways to win football matches. That game at Newcastle last week, dreadful start, Jackson red card, it killed it for us. But there's a lot of wins this season where yes, we might not have been entertained. Yes, we're not playing well. We are getting to where we want to be. And I think that is the most important thing. And I think Maresca does deserve credit for that. So let's take a look at the next comment here. The problem is that the press think it is the same Chelsea from years ago. It is not the same. It's about building something important. People have to trust us. We are going in the right direction. A lot of fans are saying the football's too boring. It's too bad. And I look at the squad of players that we've got, and I still think with the squad as a whole, I'm looking at individuals and I'm like, are you actually as good as I think you are? You are very good. And I'm talking about Marc Cucurella, Cole Palmer, Moises Caicedo, Romeo Lavia. I think Levi Cowill as well has been amazing recently. Reece James. There's a lot of really talented footballers at this club. I always have this concern that because it's so rigid, because it is such the same, rinse, repeat over and over again, and quote the man himself, he doesn't know another way. Is this going to actually help us in the long run? I'm not sure. We got players like Esteval Willian coming in the summer, right? Who is an incredibly talented young Brazilian footballer. Are we going to get the best out of him if he's at Chelsea playing in this system? I don't know if we will. Pedro Neto, I think also, when you think about what he was so good at Wolves, what I was so excited to see, overall this season, I think it's been average from Neto. I think there's been obviously great moments from him, but all in all, I just wonder if this is the season where we have to just accept that we are not going to be as good as Liverpool. We're probably not going to be as good as Arsenal even. We're not going to be one of the best and most exciting to watch teams in the league, but just getting Champions League is acceptable. Is it going to improve? Are we going to get better the more that these players play together? Because there is a brilliant collective spirit. No one can deny that. The players all seem to really get on with one another. The celebrations yesterday at the end of the game were magnificent. I know that some people have given stick to Chelsea fans for leaving the stadium. If you actually have ever been to Stamford Bridge, you'll know that it's so difficult, especially that late at night, to actually use public transport to get out of London. So I don't necessarily think there is any truth behind any of some of the comments I've seen today about, oh, well, fans aren't really behind the team. That's nonsense. They absolutely are. The atmosphere might not be brilliant at Stamford Bridge, we all know that, but it doesn't mean we're not behind the team. And I think the team as a unit, collectively, there is definitely something to get behind here. Chelsea never considered Reece James' exit, despite reports in the recent months and years. Always been key part of the project, and tonight, one more crucial assist to help in big moment for the Blues. I want you to take a look at this screenshot here. And again, I want to give Maresca some praise for this, because Reece James hasn't been injured for a very long time, which is amazing. He's Chelsea captain. I'll be the first to admit, I'm not happy that Reece has been playing more games in the Conference League this season than we've seen in the Premier League, but Reece James didn't really overlap ever Pedro Neto yesterday in this game against Manchester United, but it's the Reece James underlap that has led to us scoring the goal. So at some point or another, right, we might not like all of this inverted nonsense. We might want to see Reece James bombing up and down the wing. But I also need to be realistic and say I got so tired of talking about Reece James getting injured because he was bombing up and down the wing. And then when I see him do that again last night, and I'm like, well, credit to Enzo Maresca for dropping Lavia, a decision that I didn't really want to see. But then Reece was in there and he was able to do that, and he almost scored an incredible goal last night too. As much as it might not be that entertaining, as much as it might not be the Reece James that bombs up and down the wing that was scoring goals for fun at times and getting assists every week, he still did very well. He still showed us just how incredible of a right back he can be. And again, tactically versatile. And at this point, for Reece, it's about not getting injured out there on the pitch again. So I think massive credit needs to go there to Maresca. And look, I think it's about, as fans right now, at least in my opinion, for me, it's about letting go of some of this like desire to be entertained and watch free-flowing, beautiful attacking football all the time. And just look at where we are. We're sat fourth in the Premier League. We're on the cusp, on the verge of being back in the Champions League. It's about recruitment. And that is then when we have to look at the football club and be like, right, we have gone from point A, we're now at point B. We're in an elite competition where we're making loads more money. This is all hypothetical. Maybe I'm speaking a week too soon. You know, things are going to move quickly because we've got a transfer window that opens before the Club World Cup, and we want to go for that tournament. So we're going to need to sign players quickly. And who are those players going to be? And I put this up on the screen again. Chelsea is still there for Victor Osimhen. If we get Champions League football, we can afford to pay this guy. I made a video about it yesterday talking about it. Yesterday, you saw once again why we need Victor Osimhen. Because Tyreek George being up front, getting bullied by Victor Lindelof and Harry Maguire, Chelsea, if we have a bully of a striker, we've actually got someone to aim for. We've got wingers that love to cross the ball. Pedro Neto loves a cross, doesn't he? Esteval, he's coming in. We need someone to be there in the box that people can play off, people can get the ball to, who can score goals. If we are serious, we will notice this. It's not just Benson's got a weird fetish for Osimhen. It is we need to be treating ourselves at the level that we are playing at. And if we get Champions League, you need an elite Champions League level striker. Because to bring it back to what Enzo Maresca said earlier on, and we'll bring it up again, hopefully in the future we can fight for important titles. This summer, Arsenal, they've got Zubimendi. They want Victor Gyökeres. You think that's going to make them a worse team? Truth, spoiler alert, it's not. Liverpool just won a title. They want to sign Florian Wirtz. Think that's going to make them worse? Absolutely not. Man City, their worst season in I don't know how long. Spent 200 million in January. They want to buy Florian Wirtz. They're going to spend another 200 million. Do you think that makes them worse? Absolutely not. And those are the three teams right now that are above us that are going to get better. So if we're going to have a summer where we buy the wrong profile of players again, where we don't actually buy elite footballers, where we don't bring in a bit of experience and leadership to the team, we will keep being in a dogfight and not competing for important titles. And we've done all of the groundwork now because I think we've got a decent squad. We've got a squad, like I said throughout this video, that look together, that look like they're playing for one another. Yes, the football's not beautiful. Yes, it isn't brilliant to watch. But at least we have got some semblance of stability. Now it's about sprinkling the fairy dust on it. We need to now go for it this summer. If we do finish this off next week, we get Champions League football, bring us some top players. I don't want to see this guy might develop into something good. We've done that now. Let's start acting like a Chelsea that do want to compete for big titles, because everyone else around us, before the window's even opened, You know what Arsenal, City, Liverpool are doing this summer. They're having big summers. They're not going out and buying 7 potential development players. They're going and buying 3 or 4 that make their team better to make sure that when the league is a bit more competitive next year, because Liverpool won't be able to run away with it again, I don't think, they're prepared. They're ready. And if Chelsea want to keep going in the right direction, and you want people to keep supporting it, then we've got to act like we're going in the right direction. And that means buying top players. So Enzo Maresca, 1 more week and he can get us Champions League football. And then after that, the cherry on top might be a trophy. This could be a beautiful end to the season. And after watching us last night, honestly, I'm going to take all expectations about being entertained away because Nottingham Forest will make it so difficult for us. But I believe in this Chelsea team to grind it out right now. And I think that's the lens that I needed to put on to look at this game yesterday from. Yes, it wasn't pretty, but we got the win. That's all that matters. Get it done next week, Chelsea. Honestly, I'm delighted with that result last night. We won 1-0. If you do want to go and check out the 6 Things We Learned video, please do. But I will say, I think I was a bit too negative, to be fair. Well played to Caicedo as well. I didn't give him a box in the video. I thought Cowill was excellent, and I think I'm just so used to Moises Caicedo being that good. Do you know what I mean? It's now basically just expected, but doesn't mean it shouldn't deserve praise. He's Chelsea's player of the year. I'm waffling now, so I'm going to shut up. I'll see you later.